Yeah. I feel good. I think we're all excited to be back in Cincy, ready to start the regular season. It was a long month, so like I said after the game, I'm pleased with how the guys performed and the result. I think it went a long way for our group, despite only being one game and one win. So hopefully we can build off of that momentum, and hopefully guys have recovered in a pretty good way because it was a long day yesterday. So we're ready to get going, and we know it'll be a difficult start against the Rebels.
Speaking of them, I mean, coming off an MLS Cup final, they had a lot of changes in their roster. I guess what do you expect coming into this first matchup?
Similar to what we've seen. Last year, I know there's, like every team, there's different pieces, potentially some injuries to some key pieces. So it's always a very difficult game, and they have three essentially preseason games that we've looked at to kind of analyze their current group and try to take as much as we can from that to help guide us with what we want to do for tomorrow. So, I won't get too much into detail of how we approach it, but we expect a very difficult game.
Coach, welcome back. With this quick turnaround and how the guys may be feeling, I'm not sure how much you have insight into that yet, training. Does Red Bulls not having a game earlier this week change the way you approach Saturday?
It doesn't. We know they'll potentially be, a little bit fresher, but that depends on who we put on the field to go after it. So, you could look at it as we had a game to help prepare ourselves and analyze our group and see our performance going into this. And they didn't, but, maybe they're a little bit more fresh. I would like to think that the excitement and adrenaline of our home opener in front of our home fans will kind of eliminate any heavy legs. So the guys are excited. We'll continue to assess over the next, couple hours, really, because we're pretty close. But I think the recovery's been pretty good across the board. There was no setbacks, so we have a strong group to select from.
I wanted to ask about Miles Robinson. His performance on Wednesday was, I think you mentioned it was quality. He was the captain on Wednesday. I was curious as to what, maybe more generally speaking, how you go about your selection of captain, and now with Lucho gone, what will the process look like going forward?
Yeah, to be determined. We've kind of gone through this preseason just analyzing our group, and we know we have multiple leaders and captains, and how that looks moving forward. We'll handle that internally, and I'm sure you'll know publicly at some point. But Miles was the choice for this first game, and that was based on my decision and the staff's discussion. So he did a great job in leading us in our first competitive game.
Yeah. Heading into this training session today, obviously, the day before the game, what can you get out of like a final preseason, if you will, or a training session like this heading into the first MLS match?
Well, it's our typical day before the game. We know the group that we plan on starting the game with, and it'll be light in nature because of the travel of yesterday and the quick turnaround from our game in Honduras. And we'll kind of walk through some of the things that we just went through in video of what we anticipate from Red Bull and how we want to approach the game. So it's a little bit chillier today, so we'll kind of move through it in an efficient way so that we're not on the field standing around too long, and then finish up with some video after training, and then hopefully guys are ready.
Obviously, you get to see Evander work with the team for a little while heading into Wednesday night's match, but seeing him on the field, how he fit with the guys out there, what did you think? Early returns on that?
Yeah, he had a goal and an assist, and he looked pretty good. He's, I think, going to be, as you can see, a big piece for our team. Just how he reads the game, how he was able to get on the ball in dangerous, areas, but also just the way he moved the ball. It was efficient. It had purpose. It was simple in a lot of ways, and it got us attacking goal. So it didn't take him too long to have an impact, and hopefully we can continue to find ways. I say it all the time. We need to put him in a position to succeed. He's going to, in time, better understand his teammates, better understand what we're asking, but in the short term, simple messages to put him in a position to have an impact. So, I imagine there'll be, more minutes and more of an opportunity for him tomorrow.
And obviously, he just arrived, but he's playing that same 10 spot as Lucho. I'm not asking you to compare the two players at all, but how much are you able to kind of plug and play him in your system early on that you've already had going?
Yeah, the qualities that he brings as a player allow us to do different things. And so whatever our structure is, it'll revolve around how do we get him on the ball and allow us to attack the goal, because he's got the vision and he's got the creativity to open up the game. So, it's a nice piece to be able to work around, and we'll continue to make him a focal point.
Kind of going off of that, do you feel like it needs to go through him as much as maybe it did in the past with your 10? Like, or can that look different?
It can go through a number of players. I think you saw that the other day. You're trying to bring out the qualities of players in different areas of the field. So if it only goes through Evander, that becomes predictable. We need to find different ways to move him, to move our team, to get him on the ball in certain areas, to then, how does that influence the guys behind him? How does it influence the guys ahead of him or the wide guys in those movements? So we're going to look at different ways to move the ball up the field and not be predictable. But, of course, he's gonna have a different type of impact because he does what not many can do, and that's, the final pass, the final dribble, the final shot, set pieces. So I'm excited about the different ways that we can attack with him as a part of our team.
Oh, yeah. I have one, but it's kind of similar to this point about further up the field. We talked a little bit in preseason about Pavel Buka, where he played further up the field for some of those preseason matches. And I think he did that a little bit towards the end of the game on Wednesday. Right. You mentioned that he's not your, the preferred guy to do that, but does having him be able to do that and you feel comfortable with that open up some options for you in those late game situations?
Yeah, based on where we're at with personnel. I think he's comfortable enough in those spots, and certainly you saw the ability to make plays and score goals. But I think we also have pieces that we expect to be up there more consistently, and if we need to utilize him in a different way based on personnel available or the game state, we will. But it showed that he's capable of making the plays, and I think we challenged him with doing that last year, and we wanted to see more of it. And I think he progressed, and his numbers got better as the year went on. But it's a nice preseason to be able to see what it looked like in a few more games where, because we were limited with personnel, we utilized him in a higher position. So I was happy to see his production when he was in more advanced positions.
You talked about how it's been kind of a long, busy month, but the fact that you're here now, you're at this point, about to play get back to TQL Stadium in front of the home crowd. I know it's going to be cold, but what is that feeling like for you, being in front of the home crowd for the first time this year?
It feels like it's been too long. Again, that was a long month, and so this is the reentry process. We're all trying to figure out how to get back into our normal routines, be back with our families, and be in our own beds. All that was kind of weird last night. So, but being in front of our fans, hopefully they got a glimpse of this 25 team the other night, and I'd like to think that would bring some excitement. But we're excited to be in front of them and hopefully put together a strong performance. Like I said, we need to be better at home than we were last year. Maybe I didn't say it to you, but it was to the group. We need to be better in front of our home fans, and that'll be one of our goals this year. So it's exciting to be back, and despite the cold temperatures, we know we'll have the support.
Do do you allow yourself like to get excited still heading into seasons like this, like personally?
I do. It's not boring. It could be worse. So I'm excited to get going.
You were asked about Matt Miazga the other day, and I think fans are maybe a little surprised to hear that maybe he's not further along. Is that really like day by day at this point, or is it weeks? Like how?
It is because he's had a long recovery in a unique injury. So there are hurdles that he's still trying to overcome as, he's checking each box, and his return to play is almost complete. So there's going to be discomfort. There's going to be days where it's a little bit off, and trying to overcome some of those obstacles is what we're challenged with right now. But maybe it's not the exact day, but when you're talking about, what was that, 8-9 months based on when it happened in the beginning of June, yeah, it doesn't go perfect throughout that recovery process. So we're day by day, and hopefully Matt's able to put together a really strong, stretch of days where, he's ready to go. I don't know what that looks like in this moment. So whether they're surprised or not, I mean, it's not easy to come back from a long-term injury, and of course everybody wants to see him out on the field. He's a big piece for us, but we're not going to put him out there until he's ready.
Is there any resolution with Luca?
I'll leave anything with related to Luca as far as contract stuff to Chris, but he's day by day as well because he was not able to train consistently enough leading up to our Motagua game. So.
And then what about Sergio?
Yeah, Sergio's probably a week or two away is the hope, but he didn't progress the way we would have liked in the final week or two with his injury. So he won't be available tomorrow, but I don't know what the return date looks like right now.
Wrap up with Carter.
So I wanted to follow up about Matt. Now that matches are kind of back, and you mentioned you're going to get into the swing of things, is it sometimes one of the harder things to do with a competitor like these guys are to slow them down now that it's back? They might get excited. They might want to rush back now that we're starting to play games and they want to get involved. And is it your job to kind of make them be patient a little bit and make sure they're healthy?
I can talk to them, as much as I want or need to, but until they're medically cleared, there's only so much you can do as a coach. And so that dialogue happens all the time of when they're going to be able to return and, when they're partial, when they're full go. So once they're medically cleared, then it becomes my job to implement them into the group. So guys are typically eager to get back when they've been injured for a long time. So that's case by case, but I know Matt wants to be out there. We're not going to, put him in a position where he's not ready. So that'll continue to be a day by day, and then when the time is right, he'll be out there. All right.
Thanks, Pat.
Thank you.
Thank you.